Today's topic will be all about money and finance, but more importantly, we'll talk about money mistakes that people make when it comes to money. So we're going to talk about what mistakes not to make. I prepared a nice little list of mistakes that I want to talk about. Emergency funds is a cash money that you want to put in somewhere. Typically, we leave it in the bank account where it's readily accessible to you. It is not invested in stock market. It's
Right.
not invested in some
Cash.
mutual funds that you cannot take out, or there are penalties to take money from that investment. It is not invested in your house. It is a money market account, typically in a bank, where you want to put at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund, because anything can happen. In my case, I got sick. I didn't work for almost 2 years. I mean, I was still working, but I wasn't working in my profession. So if I got sick, I can no longer work. Then what happens to my mortgage payments? Who pays for my mortgage? Who pays for the electricity? Who pays for taxes? Who pays for food? What happened? As a financial planner, when I talk to clients, I used to go and do a lot of seminars. I was a benefit consultant for a lot of small business owners. I would say there are usually two types of emergency funds. Either you save the money yourself, or you have some rich mom or dad or rich relatives, or you're a trust fund baby, and you have some money somewhere that you can access. So the point is that you have to have some money, some cash that you can access in case of an emergency. You cannot go into credit cards, because that's where really the trouble starts. You go into credit cards, you take money out, you don't pay back at the end of the month. And Elizabeth talked about APR, right? So those are high. You have 12, 18%, 22% APR on credit cards. You don't want to do that. And how do you figure out what is 3 months emergency fund? Is based on your expenses. So I can send you a expense worksheet. Basically, it has everything that you can think of on a monthly or yearly basis that we as people would be doing as an expense, whether it's your rent or mortgage, your bills, your utilities, your entertainment, children's expenses, car expenses, insurance expenses, health insurance, and so on. So you want to get an idea of on a monthly basis what they are. So when we do financial planning, when we talk about financial well-being and we talk about having 3 months of expenses set aside, is looking at your expenses. Not everybody's expenses are the same, right? So for me, cost of, my monthly expenses are X dollars a month. For somebody else, maybe it's a different amount. So you look at your own expenses and then you decide. So let's go to the next one. This is my favorite mistake to talk about. Can anybody guess what's my favorite mistake to talk about? This is so big. This is like the cornerstone of financial planning.
Missing your parents?
That's a good one, but sometimes parents are not very wise when it comes to money.
I'm thinking not saving.
Spending
That's
more
a
money
good
than
one.
what you
Not
make.
saving, but okay, that you're getting close. Anybody else wants to
I
take a
think.
chance?
I think it's like that people tend to spend more than what their income is.
Oh my God! Yes, that is the mistake. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's true, guys. If you forget everything else we talk about today, please remember the cornerstone of financial well-being is spending less than you make.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how much money you make. You could be making $1 million, but if you're spending $1,001, that means $1 you're short every month. But if somebody's making only $50,000, but they're saving $10,000 a year and they're only spending $40,000, guess what happens? Every year their bank account grows and grows and grows, right? Because again, I keep bringing up my financial planning practice because I've seen it all. There is no, I can tell you a million stories about, people living their lives very, very lavishly, especially in Manhattan, sending their kids to expensive private schools, going to dinners every night, going on vacations, doing all kinds of nice things, buying nice bags and shoes. Then when it comes to retirement, they've got nothing. They have nothing. And then you see people who are an average person with an average job, and then they're ready to retire. They have $1 million in their retirement account, and they can actually afford to retire. So it doesn't matter. You can have $100,000 a year income. You could still manage to save enough money to retire, and you could make $1 million and end up being penniless. So that is a mistake you don't want to be making. Okay, my mistake number 3, which is called goes hand in hand with spending less than you make. The mistake number 3 is when people don't invest their money wisely. So there are 2 extremes when it comes to investing. Some people are so conservative that they don't invest their money at all. They just leave it in the cash or in the bank, and they just don't want to take any risk in the market or any risk with mutual funds whatsoever. So what's wrong with that when you're so conservative?
Well, when you mean not investing wisely, you mean like a risk factor?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's basically, you can either be too risky, right? You're going too risky. You're like, all bets are off. I'm reaching for the stars. That's one extreme. Or you're too conservative. Actually, I have clients who come to me and they're extremely conservative. There are certain cultures, people from certain cultures who are extremely risk averse, and they don't care if their money is not making money. They don't want to lose the money at all. That's most important for them. Unfortunately, when you're investing your money in that kind of a fashion, basically you're not investing, you're leaving your money in a money market account. You may not realize this, but you're actually losing money. Why are you losing money when you put your money in the bank and you're not investing in some sort of an investment account? I remember when I first came to United States, I think the subway ride was only 25 cents. Back in the day, when I was 20 years old, it was 25 cents or 50 cents, and what is it now? $2.50, right?
I have no idea about the
I don't
subway.
even know what it is because I don't use the subway, but it goes up. Again, cost of milk goes up, cost of eggs go up, everything goes up, right? So if your money is sitting in the bank and you think, oh my God, that's good, at least I didn't lose it, in a way you're losing it about between 3 to 6% a year. You're losing it if you're not making it.
Yes, I just want to add also, like, there are fees involved with some of those investments that if they're not like really growth
but
they have like fees, of course,
lots
that
of fees
will
involved.
reduce the value. Like I did some of those, like in buying some like life insurance that I think like they're not really good investments. There are like different kinds, like they offer to us, and like probably I just without thinking like I bought like few different ones, but I see like probably between term or life or those kind of things, and you see like really like at a certain point they're like really not much of a value, but you have to choose like the ones that they have more value and things like that. So be more careful.
That's a really, really good point. Really understanding the investments that you're putting your money into is very important. There are a lot of hidden fees most people don't even realize. When you're buying ETFs, which is a big thing now, like everybody is like, they're very popular, exchange traded funds, which are much cheaper than mutual funds. Again, I don't know how much you guys know about all these different types of investments, but there are internal fees, which are called expense ratios, that the mutual fund company charges in order to manage this fund for you. And when they report their return at the end of the year, they give you the net return. So if they say they made 8% and their expense ratio, their fee that they're charging is 1%, in reality, what it means is that they made 9%, they took their 1%, and they gave you the 8%. So there are fees involved. And then there are products that are much, much more expensive than others. And again, and I'm not going to generalize. I'm not going to say certain products are bad or certain products are good, because they're all designed for specific reasons, and they're designed with specific features in mind. For example, some of these like insurance products have guarantees against losses in the market. So for some people, for example, for my Japanese clients, that's very important. They don't mind paying extra 2% in fees. Those products are very expensive. They're like 3.5% annual fee, 3.5%. So if you're making the same 8%, you're only netting 8% minus 3, right? So you're netting a lot less. But if you're buying a mutual fund or you're buying an ETF, it's a lot cheaper. But there is another issue about not investing wisely, which is taking too much risk with your money. And I'll give you a very interesting story. I remember when I was a financial planner, I was young financial planner in my early 20s or mid 20s in the city. And I was just like dying to look older because I wanted people to trust me and know that I was going to do well with their money. So I get recommended, I get the psychiatrist comes in, a potential client. He was recommended. So he called me up and he starts talking to me. We're like discussing about different opportunities. And then he says, well, what is your average rate of return? What do you do for your clients? I'm like, well, each client is different. They depends on their time horizon and depends on their risk tolerance. And then he goes, well, I'm looking to make at least 15% return. I'm like, 15%. And then he goes, no, 50%. I'm like, no, 15%, right? I couldn't even comprehend. This guy's coming to me and he's telling me that if I work with you and if I give you my money to manage, I expect 50% return. And I was like, holy cow. And back in the day when I was young, anybody was breathing would be a client. I wouldn't care. I would just take him. I'm like, yeah, come, I'll work with you. But thank God, somewhere in the back of my head, I was like, this guy's crazy. Like, okay, I want him as a client, but he's crazy. No, I don't want him. And that's a topic for another discussion. We're going to stick to the mistakes for today. We'll talk about investments another time. Mistake number 4 is we're following get rich quick scheme, which is kind of similar. People come to you and they say, oh, I've got this thing and that thing. And, just be careful. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. So just be careful with that. Mistake number 5 is having just one source of income. Why is this a mistake to have one source of income? Who can tackle this one? Basically, you have multiple sources of income, which are some of the sources of income could be real estate. It could be other businesses. But the most important thing to become financially independent is you work, when we are, first out of college or whatever, when we become adults, we go get jobs to earn a living. But the idea is to try to get out of the rat race. And anybody knows about Robert Kiyosaki will know what I'm talking about. He talks about like getting out of the rat race. What is the rat race? You're working for your income. So you go to work so you can earn a living. You want to get to a point where you have cash flow investment, when you have money coming in without you having to work for it. You don't go to have earned income. You want to have other sources of income other than earned income. And actually, Robert Kiyosaki has this game called the cash flow game, which is a board game. But I was thinking, if we do a class about money, because I was going to do a money university class, if we do, we guys are all going to play this cash flow game together because it's really, really cool. Recently, I was playing this game with my kids, and I was so impressed because, and he did a wonderful job, by the way. He gives you these different options of different investments, and then it's a lot of thinking. Like you have to understand why is it better to go with this investment versus the other investment, and it opens up really good conversations with children or teenagers or people in general to really help you understand why is it better to invest in a certain thing. How do you calculate rates of return? How do you figure out if this deal is a good deal or not a good deal, right? So that's a really, really good game. But going back to the rat race, to have multiple sources of income is to try to become financially independent of having to go to work, to having to work for a living as quickly as possible. And the only way you can do that is by trying to save as much of your money as you can to get enough money to start a investment. Your monthly nut that you need, right? So if I have a very comfortable life, spending $10,000 a month, when I have enough cash flow coming in from my multiple sources of income, then I'm getting $20,000 a month after tax income. Then I can easily spend money without worrying about it. If I want to splurge on whatever, I can splurge. If I want to buy the Mercedes, I can do it because why? Because I can afford, because I have more money coming in than I'm spending, right? So we have a period where we're like building our wealth, right? We're building our businesses, we're getting there. And then hopefully at one point you have more income coming in than you can actually spend, because how many cars can one have, right? I mean, average people, like, unless you're crazy, you're fanatic about cars, but typically speaking, you can have a couple of different houses, couple of different, vacation houses, but you cannot have 100 houses, right? It's just not realistic. So let's go on to the next mistake that I have here that I want to talk about, which is relying heavily on credit cards. Big problem with not everybody. I noticed it that it's, again, in certain ethnic groups, people don't really like to spend credit card. They don't use credit cards. In other groups, people do spend credit cards. But why is it such a wrong thing to rely heavily on credit cards? I was thinking more about credit cards when, let's say, kids or young people go to college. They have no clue how credit cards work.
Yep.
They just think, you just spend the money. It's like,
Yep.
they don't realize if you don't pay, there's interest and compounded interest that,
Yep.
gets on that money. So, I was thinking, we have to teach the younger generation how to use credit cards. I was also an immigrant. I came to this country and I was in my early 20s and I knew nothing. I mean, I didn't know anything about anything. And I don't understand why I, made some very wise decisions because I never spent credit. Like I had credit cards, but somehow, I don't know how, I always knew that I'm only gonna spend money on credit card when I can, whatever I can pay. Like if I didn't have the money, I didn't pay. The credit card has always been for me a convenience. And if I don't have the money, I just don't spend it. One of the most important ones that I always talked about in my financial planning business is not participating in your employer paid retirement plan. For those of you who do work for large companies, you should be aware of the fact that most companies offer 401k plans or 403b plans, depending if it's a hospital or if it's a college or some sort of educational institution. But the point is, all these employers have retirement plans set up for their employees. Most of them have matching, so up to 3% matching. So people, especially again, young people, not realizing and not even knowing about it, they don't participate in their 401k plan. So there are many reasons why you should be participating because number one, when you're saving money for yourself. Number two, it's tax deductible. Again, we'll get to that in another topic in another time. It's tax deductible, so it's reducing your taxable income and you're still putting money into an environment, into an account that's a special account because the money can grow tax deferred. But more importantly, if there is a match from your employer, it's free money. So even if you're not going to do 15% contribution, do at least 3% contribution. And it's amazing for me to see as a financial planner how many times people don't take advantage of that. It's like free money that's given to you. You don't want to take it. So for those of you who do work for large companies, please keep an eye on that. At least put in your retirement, at least make a contribution to get the free money. The other couple of things I wanted to mention, which we kind of said it anyways, was being scared to take financial risks. Again, that's a big topic. We can spend 2 hours talking about that, being scared to take financial risks. We'll talk about that next time. And then saving rather than investing. We kind of mentioned this before. Why is this a mistake, saving rather than investing? We talked about this already. Again, when you're saving and you're not even keeping up with inflation, in a way, you're actually losing money, right? Because your money has to make at least 3 to 4% just to keep up with inflation. If your money is sitting there, you have $1,000 at the end of the year, your $1,000 is still $1,000. You actually lost money. Last point I want to make, guys, is putting all your eggs in one basket. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. And it applies to everything in life. It applies to investments. When we do investment portfolios, we always talk about diversified portfolios, having a diversification in your portfolio of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And then you want to have growth stocks and value stocks and small caps and international and mid caps and so on. Why? Because the more diversification you have, you're reducing the risk of your investment, because not everything goes up together and not everything comes down together. But the same principle applies not only in investment portfolios, but in everything else.